terrified of my own car that I'm building. It'll be fun to go test this thing and see how terrifying it is, but first we gotta get it there. Probably could take the brakes off and stuff and make it a bit lighter to put up there, but I like to struggle to not take off like 2 bolts. Car makes like 700 plus horsepower. I don't want that. That's too much. This is definitely too much. All right, we took a quick trip down to Huntington Beach where my good friends at Motorsport Hardware and JMP have combined forces and come up with a brand new shop called Racecars Unlimited. Basically, they wanted to offer Southern California a place for track prep and even big builds like my E36, in addition to all the stuff that they offer at Motorsport Hardware like spacers, studs, lugs, and everything else. So let's go inside, check out the E36, and then we'll get into what we're gonna do today on my E36. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, what's up, man?
This is Ryan Castro. He started Motorsport Hardware and then opened up this place with Jarek. And your car is sort of the inspiration for my car, but not like this. Your car like 2015, right? When did you LS swap this thing?
Clean.
Yeah.
LS swap was about, I want to say about 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
I'm at a lot.
Not still clean, before it went full crazy.
Yeah.
Because this car, you guys have probably seen this car. He raced Riley on this versus that. And this car makes like 700 plus horsepower. I don't want that. That's too much. This is definitely too much. Well, let's take a look at this thing real quick. God damn. This is probably my favorite part of the car, by the way. The radiator duct out of the hood.
All Riley right there.
So sick. And then you recently did what? Sequential?
Yep. When we did the this versus that, I think that's what gave us the edge there. So we put the sequential in and that gave us more shifting speed.
God damn. You got a bunch of race cars now. I see your E30 outside with the S54.
Yeah.
So give us a little overview. What is this place? What did you guys open?
So we just opened this year and we partnered up with JMP. So we decided that, figured that there was kind of a space in Orange County for people that like to track their cars, wanted to have a shop that they trust to build a car, know that they're gonna go fast, that they're gonna be safe, basically perform that they expect.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So you guys who aren't from SoCal, and if you are, you probably could understand, is JMP was working on my E36. They were up in the valley. It was a whole day mission to go up there, because if you don't go at the perfect time, it's probably 2 hours of traffic either way.
Like we care. We don't.
SoCal is super saturated with tons of great shops around, but really it's like if a shop is 40 or 50 miles away, it just becomes really impractical to go up there and get your car work done. So SoCal, Huntington Beach, you know, this area here really needed a shop that people could go to, whether it's to get alignments, to do quick track prep, or even to do like bigger builds like mine. So any time of day, traffic or not, I could get here quick. I mean, now it's just Jarek's problem that he has to.
Because now I have to drive 70 miles to get here.
Well, that's your time, not mine. So, you know, it's fine.
He doesn't care about anything. Oh man, I hate to interrupt your build series with my build series, but I think mine's is a little better. As you know, I've been trying to learn how to drift in the yard, and your boy ripped off the taillights on his R34. And guess where you can get taillights? Not your local auto parts store, not that damn sure. But guess where they do have them? eBay Motors. That's right, I was able to find R34 taillights on eBay Motors, which means I was able to put them on my car, and the cops won't pull me over anymore for having one missing taillight. That's right. Now I can roll around the streets like the Hoonigan I am and respect the law and disrespect more JDM cars.
So today we're gonna jump right into doing a bunch of work here, and the first thing on the list is to swap out the subframe and differential because my car has a stock diff and that is not gonna hold up to all the power. So what we got here is a whole ass setup. What we're gonna do is actually put a Ford 8.8 rear end in this car, and this is a differential out of 2015 S550 Mustang. There's a couple, actually there's like 7 different diffs you can get, but what I picked was the cheapest one I can find that was an aluminum case. case. So they have a cast iron case and then an aluminum case. The cast iron case could do like up to 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. These are said to handle up to 800 foot-pounds, which is more than enough, but I really wanted to keep it lightweight, so I went with the aluminum, and I got the cheapest one I can get off of eBay because I'm not gonna use anything on the inside. First off, before I knew I was gonna bring my car here, I was seeking a solution, and a bunch of you guys out there actually told me about 22 RPD. They make a full bolt-in 8/8 swap subframe for the E36. This will pop right in, the diff bolts right in, it has sway bar mounts, easy to go, comes with all the hardware, and then you can get an S550 diff with a limited slip, but I wanted something a bit more sophisticated, something that wasn't just like an OEM LSD out of a Mustang. So I went with a KAAZ 1.5-way limited slip, which we'll get more into a bit later. And then to top it off, we have some G-force axles built by the boys at Seems Legit. And these are rated to like 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. I don't think I'll ever break one of these, so it's worth a little bit extra money to have something that you're never gonna have a problem with. This is what we're gonna work on today. I'm gonna teach you how to build a diff, teach you a little bit about it, and then we're gonna slap it in the car. So the last part we're waiting on is a ring and pinion, because this is a, what, 315? So we're gonna put a 355 ring and pinion in to help kind of make the gearing work for a variety of tracks in SoCal and Gymkhana grid. But what do you think of this setup?
One thing is really light. Yeah.
This is light, this is huge. This diff
light,
itself though is massive compared to an E36
it's
diff.
probably, I mean, that car has a large case from like an E46 M3 similar setup.
Oh, it's an E46M diff?
It's a large case. So
Okay.
that one is like probably weighs 3 times as much as this.
Because it's cast iron housing, right?
Everything is just heavy. I mean, this one will probably get heavier with the LSD in it.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you know.
And you were saying this is an open diff, right?
It's not like an open diff. It's like a Ford traction lock. It's
Yeah, I've
basically-
never seen this.
Yeah, it comes like on Ford trucks, all the Mustangs.
So this is like faux LSD?
Yeah, it's kind of like it just really basically make it expand, and it has like a small clutches on the side.
So this is helping you when you think you're going to do a one-tire
Yeah,
fire. This gives you a
looks
little,
it up.
it gives you a little bit of a
Yeah.
chance of doing a two-wheel burnout.
It's good for the street, but for the track, it'll probably like an open diff.
Okay, so we're going to be changing out everything in here, right? So we pretty much pull out
Yeah, the whole
the
thing.
differential, the ring and pin. Well, this is the ring gear, and then the pinions.
The only thing
in
we're
here.
going to reuse is just this. Everything else inside would basically go away.
Oh, and we got a new input flange, right?
We have the adapter to connect it to the drive shaft that you have right now.
Okay,
So-
cool. Yeah, the beauties of doing things you didn't know you were going to do is making a drive shaft only to realize you're going to have to change
Yeah, I
the
know,
drive
right?
shaft again.
That's why I asked you before, right? Like, are you going to keep this setup?
Well, originally I was like, I'm gonna just keep the stock diff, I'll change the ring and pinion, and I'll just deal with it. But then after thinking about like breaking it constantly, and if we're gonna do grid, be doing a lot of clutch kicks and things like that, I was like, I don't feel like breaking axles at the track and all that.
Yeah.
Like, let's just do
It's
a
a good-
bulletproof
it's a good thing
setup
to do.
and do something that you know you could beat the hell out of and never have to worry about. I'm terrified of my own car that I'm building, and Ryan can relate because he's kind of terrified of this car too. It'll be fun to go test this thing and see how terrifying it is, but first we gotta get it there. So I've never built a diff before, so I want to learn a little bit. What is this?
These are the bearings, the carrier bearings, yeah.
Is this worn?
No, it's just like probably how they manufacture. This one is just the race, outside race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a casing that holds it in place, and then that's a spacer to set the backlash and stuff.
Cool. Well, I'll just watch you kind of pull this apart.
Pulling it apart is easy.
Putting it together is hard. Kind of how all car builds go. All right, well, he's pulling the diff apart. And Cecil's making a ton of noise. I'm gonna start pulling the subframe out of the car so we can get this thing ready to go in. All right, so we got the diff out, which honestly took all of like 10 minutes to get this thing out. So that's, I guess, the easiest part of the job. So now we have to take the diff out of the subframe, remove the control arms, trailing arms, camber arms, take everything off of this, swap it over the 22 RPD setup. And then Jarek, our ring and pinion, just showed up, so he's gonna be swapping that, and I'm gonna be working on this. All right, So we got the factory diff, and we got the KAAZ unit, and then what were we pressing on? Just what is this bearing?
The bearing. And usually when you put new LSD, you can transfer the old bearing from the old one, so you always put a new one in there.
Yeah. So what are we looking at here? This is a nice aluminum case.
No, it's actually steel.
Oh, is that steel?
It's just shiny, yeah.
Okay.
This is probably the heaviest part of it. Probably heavier than the case. And then it's it's not sealed, but you can see that everything is inside. If you look closely, this is actually what determines like 1.5 way or 2 way, depending on the ramp angles. That's how aggressive they become on acceleration and deceleration.
Yeah.
So one side is like less angle, one side is more angle. So
right.
it's like determines how much preload it does when you're accelerating and when you're unloading it.
Nice. Because when I was trying to pick out a diff, I wanted to go with something that had a little bit more tunability than, say, a stock S550 limited slip. There's a couple different options. Like you hear a lot of people talk about 1.5, 2-way, etc. And like a 2-way is really like a locker. That's something that you're going to use more for drifting and things like that, because you want an aggressive lock where both wheels will spin about the same speed no matter what you're doing. With road racing, not so much.
Yeah, with road racing, you don't want it to open up when you're actually entering a corner, so that the wheels can turn different speed, and it helps you with the turning. If it's turning about the same speed, you're basically drifting. It will just kick that rear end out.
Yeah, but I also think people overlook the differential 90% of the time.
Yeah,
like people are going to put all the parts on their car, but then have a stock worn out E46 M3 diff or something.
Well, sometimes it's a cost factor too, because they're not cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
If you're gonna do something that costs $5,000, that's not gonna make the car faster, then you might as well put it in the diff.
Right.
Yeah. So
you could pack on slicks, aero, all this stuff, but I mean, realistically, putting the power to the ground is super important.
Thing, yeah.
And also driving characteristics, because like differentials have different lockup rates, whether you're decelerating or accelerating. So a lot of times when you're using a 10-year-old clutch pack differential, like they're just like open on decel, or they're not locking up out of corners and things like that.
To look at it too, when you're doing something like this, when we talk to drivers, we ask them like, how do you drive?
Right.
This is one of the things that you do that needs to match your driver. Yeah, if you're a really aggressive driver and you're not a smooth driver, then the diff matters.
Right.
Yeah, because if you like sliding around and you don't care about lap times and stuff like that, then you want something more aggressive just so you can have fun.
Right.
But if you're doing time attack and and every tenth counts, then you want the precise diff where it actually prevent the tires from slipping.
Right.
Every time you spin the tires, you lose time.
Yeah. So with a car with a ton of horsepower, and it's going to have a lot of mechanical grip and aero grip, we're still going to need to really work on getting this differential to put the power down. So I think that this KAAZ 1.5 way is going to be perfect. All right, got the diff, subframe, everything apart. Got the corners broken off the rear. So we're gonna hang these to the new subframe now. Probably could take the brakes off and stuff and make it a bit lighter to put up there, but I like to struggle to not take off like 2 bolts. So we're gonna struggle, hoof this thing up, bolt it up to the subframe, and then Jarek's working on the diff. Should have that thing done in a couple minutes, and we'll toss this thing up. All right, you got the diff all in. That was pretty quick. We spent more time waiting for this ring gear to show up.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, we got a Ford Performance 3.55 ring and pinion, which is crazy because it was like $289 versus what does a BMW Motorsport ring gear cost?
$1,500.
Yeah. So just like literally a fifth of the price for this big old ring gear.
It's be stronger too.
So we got this all set up. Jarek got the backlash set, and now you're just gonna do the.
Yeah, I'm gonna do check the gear mesh, make sure it's okay with this toothpaste.
Toothpaste doesn't solve anything.
And pretty much all that's doing is making sure that the pinion gear is contacting the ring gear
like
enough.
Where you want it to be. So
okay. And that's you're saying it's for the mesh?
Yeah, so you want it to be on the right spot to to avoid like premature failure.
Right, because if it's only riding on like the edge of the tooth,
it'll break it.
Or too deep, it could be.
You'll chip it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do that. Seal up the cover, put it on, and then I got the subframe in. We're pretty much waiting. I was gonna mount up the arms, but we're gonna put the diff in first so we can get the axles in. Once that's in, these all get bolted up, tossed in, and this thing will be ready to go. All right, folks, this is what we got here. 22 RPD, F88 subframe. I opened up the box to get the hardware, and the instructions fell out, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw these in the garbage. Glad I didn't. So I put the subframe up in the car because I didn't want the studs to be bent and then have to manage to put this thing all up with all the weight on it. And then I was gonna just put the diff in and then install the control arms, but I read the instructions and I was wrong. So going to mount the upper and lower control arms, which is what 22 RPD says. Mount the upper and lower control arms, then we will lower the subframe onto the diff, mount the diff, then jack the subframe up into place, bolt that in, then we'll put the rear trailing arms back in, which we'll probably leave out because we're gonna weld those reinforcement pockets in, and then we'll put the axles in. All right, got the diff, got the subframe, all this mounted up. Came with instructions, but you know, custom stuff always takes a little bit of learning. But we got this thing in, so the next step is to mount up the trailing arm and axle setup. These are the G-Force Outlaw axles assembled by Seems Legit. So these are made specifically for the E36 chassis. Even though we have to weld in the reinforcements, we're gonna get this mounted up, and then Jarek says he could actually weld this while that's just sagged down. So this all slips in. Had a little issue with our lower control arm. It's a bit too bulky on the subframe side down here, and it actually doesn't fit. So I'm gonna order a new lower control arm, the camber arm. We think the SPL one is the right size. That'll be thin enough to fit in there. We're gonna order that up. Should be it. Drive shaft, the guy's gonna come tomorrow, test fit a new drive shaft, cut this one down, and then we should be good to go. All right, while we're waiting for parts, Racecars Unlimited stocked up on even more E36s. But we got everything in. The drive shaft had to get shortened to pinch, and we got these new SPL arms in that are thinner here, so they clear the subframe. And then one of the really common things you want to do on an E36 is reinforce a trailing arm pocket. So we went to Garagistic, we picked up some reinforcement plates, and Jarek actually welded those in yesterday. So we got the pockets welded in, so those are all safe now. And this thing looks great. I even flipped my coilovers. I even flipped these MCS shocks to put adjustment on the bottom now, which is super nice. So it'll be easier to get to at track. Got the G-Force axles in there. And this thing is all dialed in. All right, next up, something we've got to do off camera. So we got to wait for everyone to leave here. The proper break-in procedure for this KAAZ limited slip is to actually go and do figure eights, not drifting, just driving in circle. Tight figure eights for about 30 minutes, they say. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna break in all the parts in the limited slip. You do that for 30 minutes, you pull it back in, you change the fluid, and then you could go out and rip on this thing. A little bit of an anticlimactic ending to this video, but this is just another step in this build. Next episodes are gonna come out really quick. We're gonna get this interior dialed, we're gonna get it off to paint. We got aero coming in. Then we're gonna finish this thing up. We're gonna get it out on track and go testing. Thanks to our guys at Racecars Unlimited. So stay tuned and promise we're gonna get this done fast. I need it done. I gotta go drive. I need this car finished. Need to finish it for you guys. So we're doing it. We got the toolbox coming in. Already missing tools. Shout out Hoonigan.
But hear me out. 10 is still there. Missing 17, 19, but that's okay.
That's it. There we go. Most importantly. Hey Nala, what's up baby? Where you going? Did you just hide from me? I was just walking over to pet you.